What's going on, guys? CEO here with week 4 of the NES. This week we are going up against the Columbus Beedrills and High Horse. As usual, everything's going to be down in the description below, so if you don't know what this league is or you want to check it out more, please feel free to do that. And I'm actually going to do a little bit of live editing here while I'm getting this set up, because this just doesn't look right to me. So this week we have a little bit more of an interesting team than the last week. I don't mean that negatively, it's just this team is like the definition of hyper offense pretty much. That looks better. This team is pretty much the definition of hyper offense, so I had to bring a bulky offense to counter it. Luckily that's what my draft was designed to do, kind of getting back more to my roots of battling, I guess. And just a heads up, the EVs are a little bit more standard this week because I didn't really have quite as much time to prep as I would have liked. This week included a dentist appointment, having to stay late for work 2 days, and my girlfriend and I's 4-year anniversary, most importantly. So you can imagine that I didn't really have quite as much team or time to prep as usual, but ironically enough, I actually think I probably made one of the best teams I've made so far. Let me actually get to the point where I can... Okay, that's better. So, starting off here, we have Scizor, who's returning. I wanted this week... Okay, sorry if you heard that. My neighbor decided to be really loud and scream at 9 in the morning. Cool. So, Edward the Scizor is here this week basically to bullet punch Kyurem-Black. When I saw that he had a Kyurem-Black, 90% of my game planning went into that, because I knew if it didn't, it could pretty much just run train on anyone. 170 attack is stupid, but luckily if you have... Kyurem-Black's kind of one of those Pokemon where, like, if you have the team support for around it, it could be, like, the league MVP, but if you don't, it's not, like, impossible to go around, I guess. So I just kind of wanted to play around mainly having priority this week, getting up hazards, and then just being able to clean up with everyone. So Scizor does that pretty well. Max attack, max speed, doesn't really matter, like, unless I get an agility up. But I just wanted to be able to agility pass basically into any of my offensive threats this week. Because as you'll see, everything pretty much has coverage for everything. Yeah. Also, sorry if my commentary is not very good this week. I got about 4 hours of sleep last night before I had a battle. So, going up next, we have Granbull. Intimidate's making its return, and very likely staying. I wasn't really a big fan of Rattled as much as I thought I was going to be, so a little bit more standard with Play Rough, Earthquake, Thunderwave, and Roar. Thunderwave's just if I switch into Kyurem and he switches out and I can predict that, I can get a free Thunderwave off on something. Something about his team that I noticed right away is that he has like 6 things over base 90 speed and then a couple over like 110, which completely just outspeeds my team, so I kind of had to play creatively around that this week. Thunderwave wasn't really there for hacks so much as it was for speed control, because once stuff's paralyzed it just makes it easier for me to clean up. And Roar is there, I guess, in a similar situation if I predict to switch out and just want to get a little bit more chip damage on rocks. Then we have a little bit more unique of a Vaporeon this week that I think I'll actually do a decent amount of work. Explaining the nickname, I asked my girlfriend to help me name Vaporeon this week, and we were going through the Pokedex entries, and apparently Vaporeon's fins like start vibrating when it's about to rain. So my girlfriend, being the big Mean Girls fan that she is, remembered that Karen can sense when the weather is coming, like she has ESPN or something, and I thought it was hilarious. So from now on, all my Vaporeons are probably going to be named Karen, and now you know why. Scald, Acid Armor, Wish Protect. This thing can actually, like, even without the Wakan Berry, it only takes 70% from a Fusion Bolt from Kyurem-Black, and it actually takes like discharges and stuff from Raikou really well despite being completely uninvested. Like, I don't know why this thing is as like fat as it really is. But if he switches into Kyurem on me, I'm pretty much assured that that's going to be going for a Fusion Bolt, so I'll just go for an Acid Armor and bulk up in his face, and then just Wish Protect and Scald everything in sight. I thought about running Ice Beam, but with his team being as like stupidly physically offensive as it is, I thought Scald would be better. Moving on to someone who's making their debut this week, Fluorite the Nidoking. Also, yes, I am running dual sashes this week, which is something that's also new for me. I figured it wasn't worth investing a bunch. Oh, I just noticed my recording dimensions are off. Whoops. Anyway, that's max speed. Pretty much everything on this team that needs to be speedy is max speed. I don't know why the recording dimensions are off, but just please deal with that for this week, because I don't have time to fix that. Hope it hasn't always been like that. Yeah, but max speed allows me to basically just stay on the speedier side of things. The only defogger or hazard removal he has on his team is Togetic, which does not match up well with my rocker. So I didn't think that he was going to be bringing it, but at the same time, like, I figured he had to bring either Togetic or Espeon just to attempt to keep hazards off his side of the field, because Kyurem-Black doesn't appreciate it, Togetic doesn't appreciate it, and everything else. Oh, Flareon definitely doesn't appreciate it either, and I don't really think anyone else actually resists it, so everyone else at least takes neutral anyway. So a fairly big weakness that he had there, and I haven't brought rocks at all. Or I have brought rocks, but they haven't like really come up super often. Actually, that's not true, I brought it last week. Anyway, Earth Power, Sludge Wave, and Sucker Punch is just good coverage for the rest of his team. I EV'd this to basically be a lead against Beedrill. Stealth Rock on turn 1. Just Stealth Rock on turn 1, and then Earth Power, because he thinks he'll kill me. Get a free Earth Power off on something, and then Sucker Punch whatever comes in, just for a little bit of extra chip damage, pretty much. Mr. Team MVP himself here, Thundurus-Therian. It may be a little weird to have an completely uninvested attack and special attack set without any investment in attack and special attack, but his offensive bulk is not really there unless he starts just slapping assault vests on everything, pretty much. So Thunderbolt Psychic basically just does pretty I don't have the calcs in front of me because I don't really remember to bring them, but Thunderbolt and Psychic are very good cleanup stuff. Superpower Knockoff is designed to Oko Chansey. Knockoff will do like 20% or something, and then Superpower after the Eviolite's gone will kill it off most of the time. If it's like super bulky, it might live, which would be really annoying, but as long as I get any prior chip damage off on that thing, I should be alright. And yeah, Knockoff's just there to knock items off and stuff. I think it's interesting that I brought 2 things with non-stab knockoff this week when I have Mega-Absol, but I just kind of thought that he would be preparing for it a lot. For other coaches, I still do like Mega-Absol, and I will be bringing him in the future. It's just the past couple weeks he hasn't had like the best of matchups, so I decided to leave him home again. And finally, I'm actually bringing like a somewhat legitimate choice star, Victini. With 220 speed, I outspeed anything on his team that's not Scarfed. So with this alone, I can start scouting for Scarf stuff. The main Scarfers that I would be afraid of in this week are Kyurem-Black, Keldeo, and Raikou. And I EV'd this to perfectly outspeed any form of Scarfed Kyurem-Black. And Keldeo and Raikou just, if they have a Scarf, they're gonna outspeed me anyway, so I didn't really think it was worth it to invest fully. V-Create, after Rocks, pretty much kills anything on his team. And if V-Create doesn't, then Zen Headbutt normally does. I didn't actually consider this before the game, but I sort of forgot that Quillfish got Intimidate, so if I was in on a Quillfish, it would have done actually slightly less than I expected. That was just a little goof on my part, but that won't be happening again in the future. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and switch to the battle now and get started. Alright, so here we are with the battle. A couple of things before we get started here. First things first, my assistant coach and I, while being good for the rest of the season, did not plan this team that well. I thought that Kyurem-Black, Raikou, and Keldeo were guaranteed to be coming in pretty much any universe whatsoever. Keldeo actually didn't really do that much damage to my team, but I just thought it was a hard enough hitting Mon that he kind of like had to bring it. So at team preview I was just like floored that he opted to bring either Flareon or Quillfish over Keldeo. Also very surprised to not see Espeon or Togetic, so he has no way to remove hazards or block them from me at all. In fact, the only way he has any hazards whatsoever are if he leads Quillfish and it's like a Focus Sash lead that just gets spikes up or something, which would be very annoying because if you paid attention to the team builder, I have 2 Mons with Focus Sashes this week, because I was pretty confident that he was not going to even attempt to bring any kind of hazards against me, but that's okay. So I tried to make a game plan for this week before I went in, because I've noticed that once I kind of get into battles sometimes I tend to like not really know how to navigate myself, I guess. So I just wanted to make a quick checklist before going into this week. I need to scout for whatever Scarfers he has. At this point I'm assuming it's pretty much just Kyurem-Black. Machamp could be scarfed, I guess. If he's trying to catch me off guard for something, Flareon could be scarfed, but Flareon's slow as shit, so I doubt it's scarfed. And a scarfed Raikou is scary, because obviously it just like vastly outspeeds everything, but I have enough answers that I think I could kind of put him in a predicament, I guess, if he is scarfed. Number 2 on my list was kill Chansey, because it was the only thing that stopped me from just clicking V-Create on stuff after I got rocks up and killing things. He kind of did that for me by not bringing Chansey, so that was kind of cool. And then number 3 was just try to get as many clean switches as possible, I guess, because if I can get clean switches and put a hit on him, he doesn't have the bulk that I do on his stuff. Unless he intimidates things like crazy, I guess, but he doesn't really have enough bulk to like take multiple hits. Alright, so getting into the battle here, let me just make sure I'm set up and ready for this. Okay. So, actually, I have to pause it here after these first leads are set up. So, when we first did this battle, we got like 5 turns in before he realized his Machamp and his Beedrill were both level 100. Originally, I got free rocks here, because he went for Protect on me, and I just got Stealth Rocks up. Instead, he just kind of decided to not do the same thing when we were redoing the battle. I was gonna complain about it, but I just didn't really care, I guess. RNG rewarded me by just letting me get my rocks up anyway. And Machamp's not really doing anything besides trying to confuse my team at this point, I guess. Seeing that he's no guard instead of guts is nice, because it just means that I can fire off stuff a little bit easier if I want to. But we had like the first 5 or 6 of these turns like mapped out the way they were supposed to be mapped out, and he kind of just restarted and did his own thing, so I kind of just restarted and did my own thing too. So he goes into Quillfish here to try to intimidate me, I'm assuming thinking that I'm a physical Nidoking, but I'm actually special. I could have stayed in an Earth Powered, but I didn't want to risk the confusion. I could have actually taken that Aqua Jet very well and went for a Zen Headbutt, but it was only... I assumed he was the bulky Quillfish since he has Black Sludge, and bulky Quillfish only takes like 30% from Zen Headbutt. I could have probably like 1v1 this thing if I wanted to, but Victini is just so valuable this game that I decided not to. And especially since I have Volt Absorb and Water Absorb on my team, both of which like kind of hinder two of his like bigger attackers. I guess it makes more sense to just switch in here. He goes for Toxic, which is a good play. I just go for a Scald to try to get damage on something. I didn't know if he was going to stay in or if he switched, but since I saw that Machamp wasn't Guts, I figured free burns are free. In here, I calced and made sure that an HP Ice would have done about 50% or something max. So it was a little bit risky, but because I knew I hadn't been dropped to 1 yet, I still had my Focus Sash intact. Even if it wasn't like usable at this point, I still had the Focus Sash. So I figured I could Wish Pass into Nidoking, get a free Earth Power off on something. Sludge Wave wasn't really going to be quite as useful this week because he didn't bring anything that was like weak to poison. But Earth Power, as you can see, still does ridiculous damage. So he just tries to Scarf Dynamic Punch me again. Fluorite doesn't give a fuck and gets its first kill, which I was very excited about. So here I figure he's just going to protect because every Beedrill in the world protects, so I went ahead and switched. Oh, spoiled it a little bit. I went ahead and switched into Vash and just went ahead and kind of lured him a little bit. I think it was a little bit obvious of me bringing it in, so Victini didn't die. So I thought he was going to switch. Zen Headbutt obviously still killed. I could have V-created something, but I didn't really want to take the attack drop because I wanted to put him into a predicament here. But Zen Headbutt just does ridiculous damage like anything on his team. Not really sure why he went to Flareon here, because Flareon still gets 2-hit KO'd after rocks. Especially the Flareon that basically kills itself by being a Toxic Orb Flareon. So Victini just picks up another kill right there. I figure he's going to go for Discharge again, so I just double into Thundurus-Therian. I can take an HP Ice pretty well, so I just want to knock off whatever item he has. I guess I didn't really notice that it was Life Orb at the time, but it's just that extra damage being gone is nice. Alright, can I pause it real quick? Okay, I can pause it. So, I doubled into Karen here, expecting the HP Ice, and if you saw my team builder, I have a Wakan Berry, which weakens super effective electric attacks, just making them neutral instead of super effective, I guess. This was intended to wall Kyurem-Black, but because I got Toxic, that kind of defeated that plan, I guess. So I instead just decide I'm going to do the same kind of thing I did with Nidoking earlier in the game and Wish Pass into something. He's going to stay in and discharge me. I know this for 100% certainty, like unless he doubles into Kyurem here for some reason, which also wouldn't really be the end of the world. But I figure he's going to get greedy, he's going to discharge, and it's not really going to do anything, as you can see. So it's like 30%, I get my Wish off. I could have Wish Protected back up to full, but there wasn't really a need to at this point. So I just went ahead and doubled into Underbite, since Underbite had the coverage to hit or 2-hit KO everything on his team at this point. I feel kind of bad because this guy like always runs Discharge, and I'm assuming it's for the extra paralysis chance, but I don't think I've ever seen him actually get a Discharge paralysis. Apparently he has the only sheer force Raikou in the world. So I want to talk about this because I was floored that Granbull ate that as well as it did. I saw Kyurem come in, I knew Ironhead was coming, but I was just like, you know what, I don't really have like a need for Granbull anymore, and if I can get a free switch into Victini, I'm pretty sure I can just clean up at this point. I see that Ironhead doesn't kill. I am stoked because I think Granbull's finally getting another kill, and then I flinch. So, not the end of the world. I've never gotten a 6-0 before, so I was actually trying pretty hard for it. But unfortunately it just didn't really work out this week. So Bullet Punch doesn't actually do anything. I finally figured out why he brought the Squillfish, because it's a nice switch into Bullet Punch, I guess. But unfortunately for him, it's also kind of setup fodder. Like, I think he made an alright double there to try to catch something else, but he didn't know that I was a setup Scizor. Pretty much just designed to take out stuff. Fusion Bolt doesn't do anything. I was going to consider passing stuff here, but it didn't really matter. Scizor cleaned up. A -2 knockoff is still enough to take off this thing, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. And we recover very nicely for our first win in 2 weeks with a 5-0. I personally am very happy with how I played this week. I feel like this is closer to how I thought I would be battling when I came into the league. The main reason, by the way, that I haven't done live recordings is because I told myself that I was going to be, like, calcing more during battles and stuff, and before this week I had done that, but not to the extent that I did it this week by, like, making sure that I could lose stuff on switch-ins and stuff and playing smart. So, future coaches, expect my playstyle to be a little bit more like this in the future, I guess. For not having, like, me and my assistant coach, I guess I can mention this now that the video's over. Me and my assistant coach mostly planned for his team this week because he took over, I think they were called the Victinis or something like that. He took over the Victinis, and they are now the Seattle Wingulls, and he had a very tough opponent this week, which was actually the very tough opponent that I had last week that completely destroyed me. So we spent most of our practice time that we had this week on his team. But despite that, I feel like my team actually came out very well. I feel like he wasn't expecting dual Focus Sash, even if he didn't actually get to see either of the Focus Sashes. I feel like Vaporeon actually was a pretty solid, like, defensive set that was kind of unexpected, and Victini just ran holes through his team. I will say that I was very, very surprised by the team that he brought this week, but I'm glad that Nidoking does not give a fuck about confusion and just kind of kept doing his own thing anyway. So yeah, next week, I forgot to look this up again before the end of the battle, but next week we are taking on the Clawitzers. Which I believe they're undefeated right now, aren't they? I'm pretty sure they're undefeated, or if not, they're like, yeah, they're 3-0, with a +7 differential right now. They haven't played their week, or they haven't played their match this week, but their team is terrifying, so I will definitely be prepping pretty hard for next week. So with all of that rambling out of the way, I guess, thank you guys very, very much for watching. I'm excited to finally bring another fucking win to this channel, because uploading losses is kind of annoying. So if you like this, please drop a like. If you have any set suggestions, please leave them in the comments down below. I guess, or message me them if you want to, if you don't want to see the other